About all I can do is get closer to the microphone.
That works. That sounds better.
That's with my nose touching the microphone.
Oh, I love it.
Perfect.
Stop smelling that microphone. Who knows where that nose has been?
Smell the gloves.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Ooh, that was a clean hit. That was nice.
Oh, that was a goodie. Yeah.
That was textbook.
Thank you.
My name, of course, is Mr. Rob Minot. Joining me today, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
Hello.
And Mr. Steve Barclay.
Good day, y'all.
I've decided we're all misters today. I don't know, for some reason. I was in the mood.
You've been
That's how
listening.
I self-identify.
What was that, Ryan?
I said you've been listening to too much Mr.
Oh, good 80s callback.
That's right.
How are you guys today?
I'm
How
okay.
you doing? That's it?
Yeah, not bad. Doing well. You know, just dodging lawnmowers outside, so I'll have to do a lot of muting this episode, I think.
Yeah. Well, it is the season. I feel like we're starting to ease into summer, but it's still weird weather for June.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some sunlight.
Yeah.
So I saw it break through today, and it was awesome. And then it went away.
Yeah. It's still pretty overcast here.
Very sad.
Good night, everybody. That's it. That's all we got for you.
That's it. We're done.
Weather. We always start talking about the weather. I think maybe, is that a Vancouver thing that we just complain about the weather, or you think that's like that in other cities too?
I think everywhere we talk about the weather, it's small talk, right? You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It's banter.
Hey, there's a show there.
Hey, good idea.
Show in there somewhere.
What's been happening the last week? Mostly protests and coronavirus. So, you know, we don't want to talk about coronavirus. So how about them protests?
Yeah, how about them protests? It's so hard. You know, I find the news cycle is really difficult to navigate sometimes because you're really at their whim. Because I don't even know if there are protests going on still, because now they've switched back to talking about the coronavirus again. Which is everything that I see is all about, we're going to spike again, or we are spiking again. But now they're not, they're not really talking too much about whether or not there are any protesters out in any of the major cities or what's going on. So I have to admit, I'm kind of confused.
Well, all you got to do is turn on the panic station CNN, and they will tell you what you should be panicked about, how often, and where.
I know. Well, that's the channel that I watch. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's really happening. I think that you're right, Steve, that you kind of have to go outward, and you have to watch something like Al Jazeera or something to actually get an unbiased view of actually what's going on. Yeah,
there's, I've got the BBC News website up in front of me right now, and the big story on there is life-saving coronavirus drug major breakthrough.
What? Really?
Yeah, I guess they found that this inexpensive drug, I can't remember the name. Hang on, I gotta look it up now. It is a low dose. It is a low-dose steroid treatment, dexamethasone. And what they're finding is that if they have people on ventilators, if they give them that drug at the same time, it cuts down the deaths by about a third. And for people who are on oxygen, it cuts down deaths by about a fifth. So significant.
That's not bad. You know what scares me though is that I keep hearing reports about the fact that people who have had it are still having like ongoing symptoms or things that are still, sort of look like to be that they might have like permanent damage.
Yep.
That's concerning.
Yeah, they don't really know what the ramifications are going to be long term.
Yeah. So that is good news, but I still don't want to get this damn thing. No thanks. Well, hey, Ryan.
Rob,
What are we doing today?
I don't know. Steve, what are we doing today?
Don't pass the buck.
Well, if you're going to pass the buck, I'm going to say that we're probably going to be talking with Mike Calvo from Pneuma Solutions,
We are indeed.
formerly of Assistive.
That's correct.
You guys go back way back with this guy, right?
Yep. Way back to when we were with Aroga and the Serotech dealer for Canada. Way back when the earth was green.
And you had bangs.
I
Or wait, did you ever have bangs?
I did back in the 90s maybe, but I don't think in this century.
I think I've seen one picture of you. I don't know how old you were, but it was long enough. It was way back there when I think you were wearing like one of those like long black trench coats. I think you had like long hair.
There were times, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looked like Kevin Smith in the Jay and Silent Bob movies. You're like a little Silent Bobby there, I think. I suspect that Mike's going to have a lot to say, so I think we should just go ahead and bring him on. What do you guys think?
Let's do her.
All right. Well, Mr. Calvo.
Who's that? Last time I checked, people call me Mike.
All right.
Your
Well,
father.
Oh God, my father.
I don't. You know what? You have such a storied past. I don't even know where to start. But why don't you just give us a little bit of a snapshot of who you are in terms of what's your vision and where did you start out?
Oh goodness.
That's going to keep him talking for a month.
Yeah, right. Hey, stop it. This is true. Thank God we're friends. No, the thing is that I've been sitting in this industry for, oh my goodness, we started in software about 20 years ago, 19 years ago now, and started with a company called Serotech Corporation. Serotech, the job at Serotech was to really create a community and a set of products that when we started Serotech, most companies were focused on getting blind folks access to the internet and computers, the folks that focused on the internet at the time, from 9 to 5 and in school. And we said, we want to be that company that deals with the consumer, that deals with the people from 5 to 9 or 5 to whenever, and on the weekends. And we did that, but as we started innovating, we started also finding market segments in the mainstream that were not being addressed by other players in the AT space. So we developed remote support products, and a screen reader that you could basically launch from the web and was free. We had the first free screen reader, in fact. But I'll tell you, we run a far second when it comes to free screen readers to NVDA. Amazing work those guys have done. And a couple years back, I really just started looking at the landscape and saying, man, where do I fit? 20 years is a long time. Even 15 years back in the day was a long time. And you say, man, where do I fit in this new landscape? In 2010, I wrote a book about the cloud, and it's available on Amazon. It was very interesting to read back at that book from time to time and look at what I've was able to predict and what really happened. Thank God I was relatively on track, so I wasn't the laughing stock of our industry. But as we speak now, I've moved into totally being in the cloud. Our new company, Pneuma Solutions. Actually, Pneuma means cloud or wind with knowledge, air with knowledge. And what we've set out to be is your premier source for accessible cloud technologies. And we brought a couple of the old Serotech products over that were relevant, and Serotech has gone bye-bye, pretty much, for all intents and purposes. Not in a bad way. It served its purpose new company, new leadership, kind of a better honed vision, a little bit more appropriate to what we feel is the current modern day just computing solution. And of course, community. You know, right now, especially in the weird times we find ourselves in with COVID and all of that and other challenges here in the US, our demographic feels very lonely, feels very stuck inside. I mean, not to mention, it's just dangerous on so many levels to go outside. And we want to be that company that provides a level of communication that's easy to use, that's entertaining, that's informative. And to that end, we've got a whole new set of products coming.
Well, before we jump into Pneuma, what is the current status of products like DocuScan Plus?
So DocuScan Plus, it's safe to say that every former Serotech product is currently under review and, you know, either up for end of life or up for refreshing. We've been very public about our feelings about the screen reader, and while we are end of lifing system access in the grand screen reader sense of the word, we are going to continue to use the system access core to self-voice our own products. And in many ways, we're actually returning back to our original roots where we had the whole Freedom Box environment. Is that a word I can use these days? You know, the way that we're circling around and using system access in our current products is to self-voice them. And that will go both for RIM and RAM, which are our remote incident manager, and our remote access manager, which are the remote products. DocuScan Plus, the last version was 3.0, great product, combination, kind of a local and cloud hybrid. We have a new product that Pneuma is producing that we'll talk about shortly, that I think we're going to be ushering in some of the features of DocuScan Plus, and of course, DSP owners will be, will be brought into that either at low cost or no cost, really depending on as we go down the road and what the challenges are. Like I said, I don't want to write anything in stone, but we're definitely here. We're definitely giving it a go in the next few years, and I don't particularly see why we wouldn't make it happen. We've still got a very loyal base. Serotech has never been a huge company, and I don't expect Pneuma will be a huge company. I think that as we focus in on our users as a community, the community part of or the consumer base of our users, I think that we're more concerned with giving people a reliable, consistent experience than we are about providing all new kinds of bells and whistles and advances and huge advances in technology. Our users tend to be older. Our users tend to be, I want to just turn it on, push a button, and it works, as opposed to give me 50 different things that it can do. But at the same time, what we do behind the scenes is so elegant that guys like you, Ryan, would definitely appreciate where we're going in the future. Just for what you do at home, it'll give you a break from what you have to do at work every day, and the complexity of even scanning a document, for example, where you got to give it to a couple of different engines and see who does better.
Right.
So tell us then about Pneuma and the new products and how you got that company going and where you're at with it now.
So ironically enough, I was going through some court situations a few years ago, some legal situations with having to do with my marriage and that kind of thing, and decided I was going to represent myself in court. And I did that. And of course, we all know that story about the guy who represents, the person who represents themselves in court has a fool for a client. But that's a whole different story. But what I found was, as I dealt with the e-filing portal of the court, it was very challenging for me to both publish and likewise review e-based files and exhibits, while they would be uploaded into the portal in probably like a PDF format. They could be a graphic, they could be a partially done PDF, an untagged PDF, all kinds of stuff. At the time, I was working with Matt at Serotech, and Matt said, I said, man, I need to be able to do this. And we've been playing with an idea that we actually incorporated into DocuScan Plus about being able to scan PDFs. But I was like, dude, what if I could just do this on the fly? And then he did it for me. We just put together a quick and dirty prototype. And I played with that for about 2 years. It worked through the court thing and this and that. And I played with it for about 2 years. And a couple years ago, the light bulb went on. And Matt, as you guys may or may not know, Matt left Serotech to go work for Microsoft. And he's doing amazing things at Microsoft with the screen reader over there, with Narrator. And one day I called him up. I'm like, man, what do you think of this product? I said, I really believe that if we embed this product in websites and give people a quick way, almost a just-in-time accessibility solution, that they can look at these documents and even convert them to alternative formats. So at that time, a product that is now called Scribe was born. And of course, Scribe has come a long way from that initial, hey, why don't I just go to a website, find a PDF file there, right-click on it, and just scan it. I mean, and that for a blind person enough is pretty powerful. But when you add that with what we've done in the couple of different versions of Scribe that are available, it's darn near amazing. We've included now, of course, it's about 5 years, 6 years after I even brought the idea to Matt's attention. And machine learning has come into play, many other technologies, things like auto labeling of alt text for graphics. While they're not great, they can do the trick. So we have been able to come up with a system that, without any user interaction, provides about 95%, 96% accuracy when creating a tagged PDF. And it converts any printable online material to a number of accessible digital formats, including Braille, MP3, DAISY, large print, all these things within a push of a button. For our clients that are going to use this thing when we launch it. We're about to launch it in March. We all know what happened in March. We expect to provide a full path to what we call human remediation, which means that if the version that is immediately given to you from a source is not to your liking or is not exact enough, 95% is generally good enough, but not always. And we understand that, and we don't believe that providers of materials should be allowed to distribute content that's only 95% as good as everybody else's. So we provide a way for you to, with a click, request a fully human remediated document. And the cool thing is that as that document is remediated, we feed that stuff back to the model, teach the model where it made mistakes. And you know what? The next time it scans a document, I mean, while there are millions of documents, there aren't millions of document types. And it's going to learn, and it's going to get better. And our goal, guys, within the next 5 years is to create a fully digital document remediated system, which we believe, like at the previous company, we need to humanize computers, not computerize humans. And we've come up with a term we call augmented document remediation, which means the computers are the ones that are doing the work, and the humans help the computers get along, not the other way around, not where we have a human doing most of the work, which is very expensive, especially when it comes to document remediation. And we allow the computer to do the heavy lifting, and the human comes along and says, no, you did that wrong, or, oh, we need to nip tuck that. And we have some really cool stuff on the horizon when it comes to just Scribe.
Now, all of that, like, this is no small task. I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that there was no sort of built-in accessibility tools in anything. It was only in the past, maybe 5-6 years that Microsoft has added some sort of accessibility checker into, say, their packages. But there's still so many ways that any sort of document can be inaccessible. I know myself, like, I've just spent 2 days, turning financial information into an accessible document, and it's taken days to do. So what you're talking about is so valuable, especially in the business world. Is this kind of just a good fit for you in terms of the scope and what your aims are?
It's certainly a challenge. I mean, the problem, I think the biggest problem, believe it or not, is not so much the technology. The technology to do this has been around for a long time. The problem is that, like most situations, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And human remediation of documents has been humming along really well, and the governments have been mostly the ones paying for that. And as much griping as governments do, they pretty much have pretty deep pockets anyway. So basically, the document remediation business has been happy charging $15 a page or $10 a page, and doing all the kind of government work for creating, for recreating legacy documents for government. But now that there's such a focus on every aspect of the internet being a publicly accessible place and meeting things like in Canada, your accessibility laws there. Your Accessible Canada Act is very similar to, if not more stringent in some cases than our ADA here in the States. And now that websites are considered public places, you know what? $15 a page just doesn't scale well. Yeah. So somebody's got to come up with a solution that says, hey, we're not going to charge you. We're not 15, not 10, not 5. We got to charge companies a reasonable rate to provide a reasonable level of access. And and the laws, by the way, the laws that these things are based on, and the standards, even WCAG 2.1, I think we're up to now, standards are still pretty darn flexible. They're pretty left up to interpretation. The reason you hear about these people being threatened with, multi-million-dollar lawsuits and taking hundreds of thousands of documents offline is real simple, is they did nothing. And then the law said, we're going to make an example of you, so we're going to make you become an impossible number, 100% accessible. That's impossible. And so to me, I said, well, if we got in front of that train and we came to companies and said, listen, guys, we're going to provide you a way at the very beginning, because as I said before, this technology gets better with machine learning, right? As we get better, so is the technology. But right now, we're going to give you at least 95, 96%, accuracy for your current documents and your legacy documents. The problem isn't the current stuff. There's a path to make that stuff accessible, because there's a way to do it, as you said before, the Microsoft checker, which I think that Microsoft should actually force that on every document and make companies turn that off, because I think that accessibility needs to be a part of the core creation of any product, or service or document. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. I think that with providing a a company a tool that they can put in front of their content that a user can click on, immediately have a look at the document right away without the company doing anything to it. And they say, you know, this serves my purpose, or going to the company saying, well, you know, that's kind of cool, but I really need that document in a way that I can read it 100%. And the company make a commitment to say, you know what, we're going to get that to you in a week or two. And then providing it. And then not only providing it, but then turning around and replacing it on the website so that the next person, and that the next person that needs the document gets a fully remediated copy right away. Right now, a lot of companies are doing remediation just in case. As the guy who takes care of the money, I need to make sure that I put the money in the right places. And spending, you know, tens of thousands of dollars on documents that somebody may never read, but just need to be done just in case, doesn't make sense to me. Doing them on the fly, doing them in advance at pennies per page, which is what we can do. And I'll be happy to cite a case study where had our technology existed at that time, and even if they use it now, they'll still save millions and millions of dollars with our technology. That's the California situation.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, we had a conversation actually just last week about an article that I had come across talking about COVID specifically, and how with this huge shift in everything going online, it makes digital accessibility so much more important than it ever has been, and has been really putting the pressure on companies and organizations, and to realize that, wow, you know, if going online is somebody's only recourse to participate in a service or to reach out and contact an organization, or whatever the case may be, that pathway has to be accessible. And it's the same thing with even schools. You know, there's still talk here in Canada. I don't know what the situation is like down there, but it's still looking like come September, a lot of the universities here will still be, you know, virtual. And in that case, you know, textbooks, tests, quizzes, even lectures themselves, they all need to be accessible. And that's going to mean, you know, sometimes, you know, video lectures, for example, are going to need to be transcribed, or they might need captions, so there's all this stuff that needs, you know, a real quick turnaround time. So, you know, in a way, I think that you're striking while the iron's hot, because I think that what you're going to see is that in the next year, there's going to be a real demand for really quick and inexpensive ways to make everything a lot more accessible than it is right now.
Yeah, but you're dealing with something here that needs to, that we as a community, and I mean the consumers of this content, myself included, we need to be a little bit patient, because for all this time for captioning, it's only been very recently that you have YouTube doing real-time captioning, and it sucks in certain cases, but it's really darn good in others. Same thing with audio description. Now you're starting to see audio description done with text-to-speech instead of a human. You're starting to see products like our Scribe product that aren't going to be perfect, but if you give us a chance, if you give the technology a chance to grow, you know, as a community, we need to demand, I think, that these technologies be vetted, that they be tested, that they be enhanced, and that they continue to be enhanced. Not just where we say, okay, we've got this, so we're happy with this, and let's not do it. But this, you know, let's not do anything else to enhance it. You have no idea how many people I talk to in the, you know, document accessibility world that's like, well, this is never going to work. 95% isn't good enough. I'm like, why not? Why not? You know, if it's better, you have a way. But let me tell you, when you compare $1 a page to $15 a page for a 4% differential, you know, that's a lot. Also, the fact that, you know, sometimes, I mean, the sighted among us on the meeting today, you guys, when you look at a PDF document on your cell phone, there is no way on God's green earth that you could tell me that every single time it comes up perfectly formatted, and you can read it, and you don't have to scroll, and you don't have to guess what the heck this is versus where that goes over there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So why shouldn't I enjoy the same frustration?
That's true.
You know, I mean, why does when you go back and read a newspaper from the 1900s online, and you see the picture of it, and some of it is great and some of it is blurry, why, if I develop a technology that gives you 95% of the accuracy of that 1900s newspaper, why should anybody in any position of authority say you don't have the right to even access 95% of that because we can't make it 100%? You're limiting my access to information.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, is we provide you 100% access to 100% of the information, 100% of the time. And if you need it better, you know, you can still infer a lot that you need to infer. And the technology, as I said, it gets better. And because it's cloud-based, we don't need to send out a bunch of software updates or anything else. It's just done in real time.
Hi everyone, this is Steve from Canadian Assistive Technologies, and this is a shameless plug. Tablet-based magnification solutions have really taken off over the past couple of years. Products like the HumanWare Connect 12 have been extremely popular. Now we have a few different tablet-based systems to go along with the Connect 12. The Connect 12 is based on an Android tablet, which can be great for places using Google Classroom services, but sometimes you need a tablet with a bit more punch. The Mercury 12 from TriSight and the MagnaLink Tab from Low Vision International have similar functionality to the Connect 12, but both are based on the Microsoft Surface tablet, a full-blown Windows computer. If you're looking at a tablet-based system, you can look at all three on our website at www.canastech.com.
What is kind of the target audience that you're aiming Scribe at?
So Scribe started, I mean, really everybody can use Scribe. Every person with a print disability. And Scribe is a product, while I myself am visually impaired and a majority of the customers that we serve are, Scribe provides any printable material on a website or on a corporate intranet. And that's a very important differentiation in a second. In various accessible formats, be they large print, Braille, MP3, DAISY, all of these different formats that can be consumed by a number of different products on the market, with people with dyslexia, people with that use Braille alone, people that use large print. And that is where we can put the technology on a website so that every time somebody encounters a link on that website to a PDF or to a document, there's a button there that says "Scribe it," and they click on it and it says, "What format would you like this in?" And you tell it, and it says, "Okay, give me your email address if it's going to take a while. If not, you're welcome to hang out and download your finished, whatever it is, e-content, Braille, large print, or whatever." We are developing for our Cero subscribers and Cero is a product, our community offering that we sell to consumers. We are providing an extension that you can put into Chrome that will allow you to right-click on any printable material on the web and produce it with Scribe locally. While using our cloud service, being able to produce it on the fly without having to have the webmaster or the owner of that content tell you yes or no. And that's we're working on that now. We're just getting ready to put the the bow on that and put it out. And that was actually written by Mr. David Calvo, my son. Yep. And David is a budding young engineer. He's in his second year, actually starting his third year at Johns Hopkins in computer science there. And he heads up, he's not only, this is kind of what I did on my summer vacation, but David is also the head of the work that we're doing on machine learning. So, and we like it because we keep young blood around. We're a bunch of old guys now, and we don't think the way the youngins do. And David is just bright and full of energy and full of ideas, and really has a heart for the community, I guess, obviously. So we're real excited about what David is doing. And other members, Matt is still continuing working on the Scribe product. And we have a couple of other engineers that are working on the others. So it's going to be a fun ride going forward. The other versions of Scribe consist of a desktop and a server appliance scenario that can be used on private networks for information, for example, for employees that need to access highly secure information in law enforcement and medical situations, where the information can't go out to a cloud service on the internet. We still provide that service on-prem, and that's extremely important for folks with print disabilities to be able to work effectively in their job. Because right now, for a blind person to get, for example, if they get if they work for an insurance company and they need to process a claim, they need to look at information that's submitted to them, and they may need to run it through 3 or 4 different technologies just to see which one scans it better, just so that they can pull the information. Not only do they need to go through the problem of learning the technology, the cost of buying the technology, but also the time to use the technology. Scribe does it in a heartbeat. We just do it one click. We look at the document, we analyze it, we say, this is the best tool for the trick, and we provide it, and it's economical. It's not.
The one question that might come up, and I don't know anything really about this technology, but if somebody is submitting a document to Scribe, is that encrypted end to end?
Yes, it is encrypted end to end. Both now remember that if you are, so for example, if you're doing it through right now, if you're doing it through the extension, you're already connected. So let's say you want to do your bank statement, which is pretty private, right? We basically round robin it. We push it. You give us permission to push it. We push it to the server. We give you the file, and you download it to your machine. And that's it. It's done. We don't touch it. It's gone. The moment we process it, it's thrown away, and that's all end-to-end encrypted. When we deal with being embedded in a CMS or a content management system, those are publicly facing documents, so we don't really need to worry about keeping those secure. So that although most web services are doing end-to-end encryption now anyway. We are very, very aware of the need for security and securing people's information and keeping information anonymous and not keeping stuff lying around on the server. For example, even when we work with on-site stuff, we don't do anything. We don't store anything ourselves. We ask you to, a corporate entity to provide us a place to put what we create. So, for example, the way the analogy I use is we're a copy machine. You put your inaccessible document in one side, you push a button, we do our magic, and out the other end comes an accessible document, and we don't know none the wiser. You need to give us a place to put that accessible document, because otherwise it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. We're keeping tabs of it. In fact, we don't know anything about the document once it's done.
I always like asking the old timers this, being an old timer. But you sort of came onto the scene at sort of a very sort of pivotal time. The late 90s when the internet was just starting up, and obviously you saw that, and you saw that huge opportunity to really take advantage of this new technology and leverage it to drive accessibility forward. Do you feel like we're in a similar time right now in terms of, say, machine learning, for example?
That's a great question. I think that we've kind of, in our community, we've kind of come full circle. When I started Serotech, there was very little accessible information available. And if you wanted to get at it, you needed to spend a lot of money and have a lot of training to get at it. And you needed to do it within the confines of work or school. There were people like myself that were just regular consumers that wanted to access this information. It was very difficult for us to do so. Having been a trainer, I got introduced to JAWS, so I had a leg up, but it was really a haves and have-nots. And then as the internet has progressed, I've watched older folks get online. My mother's online. I used to use her as a reference back then, but she's still online. 70 some odd years old now and online, and now doing Facebook and this and that. So the information has gotten better. Guys like Ryan and myself, we flip around the internet for the most part and get what we want. But there's still a problem. People are still going blind every day. People are still, needing easy to use solutions because they just don't get it. And that information needs to be parsed out to them. And I think that as a company, when it comes to what we're doing for consumers, which is providing community solutions that keep them connected, that keep them informed, keep them entertained, all in an accessible format. I think that that's important. Machine learning, when it comes to, everybody wants to banter that word around these days. Machine learning, machine learning, machine learning. Well, what is it? In our case, it's simply going out there and telling a computer, this is what you think it is, but let me tell you how it really is. And then the computer saying, oh, okay. And being able to do repetitive tasks. We all like to believe that we're unique, and we are in our own personal ways, but there are formulas to doing just about anything. If not, we wouldn't have any teachers of the visually impaired, and we wouldn't have any mobility instructors. And if there wasn't a formula to do things, our job as a company is to figure out that formula, give that formula to the machine learning algorithms and say, you have at it. And then let the machines that can think a lot faster than we can come up with solutions. And I think that Scribe is going to definitely provide that solution when it comes to augmented document remediation.
Well, it levels the playing field. It gives us access to the inaccessible. I can attest to the service itself. You provided me with a demo link. I had a document or PDF that was a scanned image that JAWS just said empty document, blank document. I couldn't read it. I threw it at Scribe and, literally had it back pretty much instantaneously. And I was able to read all the content. And without a product like that, like you mentioned earlier, I would have had to use like Kurzweil or OpenBook or, some other pricey technology to recognize that text. So, there's a huge, huge audience for a product like this.
The other day, I was on the Lowe's website, and Lowe's is a company here in the States that sells building materials and stuff for your home. It's a home improvement kind of place, right? And I was looking at the numbers of products that they had on that website and how every single one has a different instruction manual. Who's going to make all those accessible? Who's responsible? With Lowe's just saying, you know what, we're going to put Scribe in front of all of this. You just fixed your problem, man. You fixed your problem for pennies. And the beauty of it is that Scribe doesn't work until it has to. It's done on the fly. So they don't need to pay for what they don't consume. In fact, our packages for for companies like that are unlimited. And for us to be bold enough to say we give it to you unlimited, we know that it's not, it needs to be there, and it needs to be economical. And a company's not going to sit there, and we're not going to meter their information. They're providing information to people. They should be able to set this thing and forget it. And if somebody needs a better copy of the document, I mean, if you're reading how to put your barbecue grill together, or how to read, what's in that bug spray you just bought for your lawn, or if you want to know what the refrigerator manual is, you can get all that stuff. You don't need that stuff 100%. I mean, you could be a nitpicky person and say, I want it. Well, you may want it. I get it. But, I want to be 20 pounds lighter, and that gets started. But, it's just the world we live in. We need to accommodate. And guys, I get it. Again, we got to accommodate, really. We had to do this with Windows, and then we had to do it with mobile, and then we had to do it now with the cloud. And guess what? The world's always changing, man, and everybody has to accommodate. And I think that there's a place for augmented document remediation. I think there's a place for human remediation. I've owned a number of companies in my life, and I've built a couple of buildings in my life. And I can tell you something about building a building. There are very interesting parts of building that building, and part of that is making sure they come up to code. And one of those codes is putting in ramps and putting accessible bathrooms and making sure that there's Braille signage and there's elevators with Braille. All of these different things that I know need to happen. But not once did I have to hire in-house a ramp maker or a sign placer. Right. Or whatever. I just needed to say, I want that because I know it's necessary, but that's not my damn main line of business. But it needs to be done. And that's where I think that, listen, if a company can afford to put in remediation people, great. But if not, we need to bring the cost for outsourcing remediation down, because you can't have a small percentage of your market, gobbling up a large part of your revenue on producing just to be compliant with a law that they keep nipping and tucking, and they just don't make, now they're finally, I think they're in a place where, the laws are open enough to interpretation if done ahead of time. Like I said, most of the time when we hear about these large lawsuits, it's that the court is going to make an example out of whoever violated the rights of a person to have access to information, as well they should, and said, now you need to be 100% compliant. That's not what the law says. The law doesn't say that it needs to be 100% compliant. It says it needs to be accessible. And as a blind person, if I saw a company trying to make my life accessible and they didn't meet my expectations, I'll be darned if I'm going to take them to court. I'd rather talk to somebody in the company and say, hey man, how can I help you make this better for me and for others that come along after me? Because we're just like that. As a community, I think we're just like that.
That's true. Ryan says that all the time, actually. That's always his counter argument to my sue the pants off. That's what he always says. So,
and a perfect example of that is our Focusrite audio interfaces. The new third generation models come with software called Focus Control or control room software that is totally inaccessible. And they have actually asked me to help beta test and make their software better, because as a blind user, they spent an hour and a half with me on the phone trying to get mine up and running and working. So, I'm not all about litigating. The more we reach out to these companies, the more opportunities we have to make things better. So,
yeah. And I mean, litigation has its place, unfortunately. And just because you sue somebody doesn't mean you hate them. It's sometimes corporations need to be sued because they've got so many irons in the fire. You need to make sure yours gets to the top of the fire. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about getting into those companies. You know, they've got their own battles to fight, and we'll gladly take their money. But the one that bothers me is the small guy, the small pizza place, or that there's trolls out there right now that are going to small restaurant chains or small stores and saying, oh, you got a publicly facing website and you've got 5 documents on there that aren't accessible. I'm going to sue you for everything you got. And they're winning.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just crap, dude. That's foul. You know, we want to provide a way for that company to say, I don't know anything about accessibility, but I want to make sure that we're accessible. How can I do that? We say, well, here, for the first step is here's Scribe, so we can put it in front of your content. As Pneuma grows, I'd like to see us doing seminars on how to teach a company to create an accessible content creation solution for in-house. And we may end up being that solution. I don't know. You know, but you know, most of the biggest challenge I think we have as a community is getting access to legacy information. A company should not be expected to make everything they've ever created in electronic format 100% accessible from the beginning of time to now. That's just not fair. And it's not cost effective. So California was cited for not having accessible documents in 2017. The Department of Justice declared that they needed to make their 2.6 million documents, not 2.6 million pages, folks. 2.6 million documents, they need to make them 100% accessible, and they gave them 2 years to do it by July of 2019. Let's go through this step by step. The first mistake they made is, how did they prioritize the documents that were going to make the grade for a full human remediation? They looked at Google Analytics. And whatever documents were done in the first year, those are the documents that got remediated, whatever documents were requested in the previous year. They ended up with about 100,000 documents or so, 113, I think, something like that. It took them 2 years to do it. And at the end of 2 years, 2.5 million documents got taken offline. And the state at that point had spent $6 million to do this. And this is vital information about employment, about college educations, about fires, you know, all the fire history in California for the forest fires and all that. All that stuff got pulled offline for everybody, not just print impaired people, for everybody. Now, Scribe wasn't in existence back then, but let me give you a scenario. Say they came to me today and they said, hey, Calvo, we got 2.5 million documents, and each document is 4 pages. Okay, so let's make it a round number, and we say we got 10 million pages. We would do, now by conventional standards, 10 million pages at their numbers, which were an average of $17 a page, and took them 2 years. So I don't know how much it cost them in man hours to get all that stuff produced in government oversight and all that stuff. But just $17 a page times 10 million, what is that, $170 million, I think, to do just those 10 million pages?
That's a whole chunk of change.
Okay, while on the other hand, it would have taken them, if they did 100,000 documents in 2 years, it would take them well over a decade. Using the power of the cloud and our cloud-based solution for full library conversion, we would be able to do all 10 million documents using the power of the cloud in probably about a weekend.
Wow. That's way
Really
more
good
productive
money.
than my weekend, that's for sure.
So it would save them $160 million, and it would have information, perhaps not to 100%, 95%. It would get that stuff immediately online, and then they could go to the court and say, hey, if people ask for 100% human remediated, we commit to giving it to them. And then what we're doing is we turn around and we provide, if they want us to do it, document remediation services at a significantly discounted rate. Why? Because we're using it to enhance our model, man. So we want the information. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's totally that is probably one of the most compelling scenarios that I can think about for this technology, amongst others. I mean, you know, we have people in law enforcement that are visually impaired that are going through and using our technology to examine, you know, digital information and digital exhibits and digital evidence. And that's really cool because we're keeping people's jobs. So, I mean, there's just so much to this, and I for one am really excited about what the future holds. As an old guy, I mean, I gotta confess, and I'm not old. I'm 52. That's not old. In our industry, it is old. But at this point, you know, I was just like, man, I gave this 20 years, 15 years, 20 years. You know, I said this right around the 15-year mark. What am I going to do? I mean, you know, I didn't really see a niche, but as I started working with this technology with Matt, as I started talking to people, and especially your government in Canada, the Canadian government was instrumental in behind the scenes in looking at what we were doing with Scribe, and over the last 2 years participating with us in developing this product, not only for Canadians to be able to use for accessing information, but for the world, man. And I'm forever thankful to your government for that. They didn't charge us anything. They were just so helpful and so open and just such a joy to work with and so honest. You know, that I really couldn't have thought of a better organization to help us develop this product that I think is going to shape the world for everybody. And because of that, we do multilingual products because, you know, everything in Canada has to be multilingual.
Yep.
May we?
So when can we expect it?
The product is it was supposed to come out in March, right after CSUN. Right now, quite honestly, we're having a little trouble because every company we talk to, it's coronavirus all the time, 24/7.
Right.
And what we're doing, I mean, we're certainly not giving up on it. We're moving forward. But as a company, we've had to pivot a little bit more to the consumer side and say, what can we do for, you know, the captive audience that we do have that is literally captive in their homes right now? Mm-hmm. And how can we make their lives better and enhance their lives and give them more access to information? And of course, increase our revenue and live to sell Scribe once this whole thing is past us.
Right. All right, sir. Well, speaking of that, why don't, if for anybody who is interested in Scribe or Pneuma, where can they find you on that whole World Wide Web thing? Okay,
so we are at www.pneuma, and that is spelled Pneuma, pneumasolutions.com. Pneuma, Pneuma. And again, it means, Pneuma means wind with knowledge, and we are an accessible cloud services company. We're going to be providing access to Cero, which is our connected community. Cero means connected. And Scribe, which is our augmented document remediation platform. Remote Incident Manager, Remote Access Manager, which are our remote training and support solutions for corporate. And there is more to come in the future.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thanks so much for taking the time out and talking with us about this stuff. And thank you just from in general, like you are doing really important work. And you've had a real big impact on a lot of people's lives in, you know, the past 20 years. So,
well, thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored to still be, what's the word? viable. What is it? Relevant, viable. Yeah, just that. I mean, that I've still got something to contribute.
Right.
You know, really. I mean,
You still got it, son.
well, I don't know if I still got it, but somebody thinks I might. So send your checks. No, I'm honored. I've worked with some incredible people. I'm just guilty of being the ringleader. But I have worked with some amazing people throughout the years, and I would totally be remiss if I accepted even a large portion of that very kind statement. I have worked with just tens of people, hundreds of people that have done amazing things, and not the least of which is my development partner, who is like my bestest friend, Matt Campbell. He is an amazing person inside and out, and an amazing developer. And anybody that has had the pleasure of working with Matt is really lucky, because should certainly feel as lucky as I have, because I'm the dreamer and he's the doer. And you can dream all you want, but if you can't get her done, then you can't get her done. And that's why we're a good team.
Anytime you want to come on and come on again and talk, it's always fascinating to talk to such a veteran like you.
Well, shoot, what are you doing next week?
Yeah, right. Listen, ask Ryan. He's the scheduler. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think? We'll be in touch.
Yeah. Have your office call my office. We'll do lunch.
All right. It's a deal. All right, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Hang on, Mike. You might not be aware of this, but every Thursday at 8 p.m. your time, we're doing a virtual pub night as well.
Oh, cool. How cool is that? Is it on Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Zoom. We've been doing it for 6 weeks or so.
And more than that, I think now. I think it's been over 2 months.
So we
Put me on the list so you guys, if you guys send out like an invitation, I'd love to go hang out. So can I bring a beer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put you on our mail list.
Oh, do that, man. Very cool. I like it.
You have to bring a beer. It's mandatory.
Okay. I'm bringing the beer.
All right, sir.
All right, gentlemen.
Take care. Bye-bye. Care. Okay.
Thanks.
Boy. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Where can people find us?
They can find us online at www.atbanter.com.
Hey, they can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell@atbanter.com. Where else can they find us, Steve?
They can also find us on the social medias. They can find us at Facebook. They can find us on Twitter. They can find us on Instagram. We are out and about.
Yes, indeed. Well, with that, boys, I think that's going to about do it for this week. I think we've done enough damage for 1 week. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening in. Big thanks to Mike Calvo.
For saving the world.
For saving the world, that's right. And we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.